Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Tony Dudzik, Pick Guardian.
Jared Brandon, Nashville.
Not all one word. Hey, everybody, it's me, Todd Novak. Welcome to the Guitar Knobs podcast. We are thrilled to death.
It's almost Halloween.
that you are listening to our show.
That's creepy.
Yeah. So anyways, yes, thank you. Welcome to the show. And we got a good one. We always got good ones. I'm just going to say that outright. I don't believe
All the time.
we've not had pretty mostly good ones. We have a special guest on the show today who falls into a specific category. And Tony's going to kind of discuss a couple of these categories real quick, and then we're going to say hello to our guest. Tony, what are some of the categories of types of people that we tend to talk to on the show?
Well, we like to talk to movers and shakers in the boutique music industry.
Yes,
those are the people who make the stuff that we love. And that's things like...
tout the stuff that we love.
Or tout the stuff that we love in one form or another. And these would be things like guitars and amps and pedals and accessories and
all kinds of stuff.
All the good stuff.
Yeah, pickups and who knows what.
Well, that would fall under accessories, actually.
Well, I don't know. That's
Pickups
debatable.
are their own thing.
That's debatable.
Pickups are their own thing.
So anyways, guess who are you?
Oh, me. Oh, yes. My name is Tyler Petito from Acorn Amps. And I feel like I don't even need to talk. I just rather listen to you guys the whole time.
No, see, that defeats the purpose of the podcast.
Yeah.
You will talk.
Yeah.
You're here to talk for like 3 minutes. Come on.
You will talk. We make you
I'll
talk.
do my best.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, everybody. We're really happy that you are joining us for this particular one. Pull up a chair, grab something to drink, and sit back, settle back, and let's talk about cool guitar stuff, shall we?
Let's do it.
All right. Before we do, Tyler, where can people go check out what you do?
So if you wanted to go check out our gear, for the most part, it's on acornamps.com on our website. And you can also check out a bunch of demos from some of our favorite demoers, Sean from Edge of Breakup.
Yep.
Ryan from Demos in the Dark.
Yep.
We have some new demos coming out with Ambient Trash and then a few other people.
Cool.
And then also we're on Instagram, Facebook, and even TikTok. But we usually just kind of run the same content on those platforms.
Yeah.
So if you prefer one over the other, then you'll probably get all the same stuff.
Yeah. Word. I heard that. All right. So, hey, everybody, if you don't know, if you're not aware of, if you've never heard of, if you'd like to find out more about Acorn Amps, you need to go check one of these platforms out while we're chatting. Or unless you're driving, that's cool too. Just, be cool to everybody else and
have your passenger check it out.
Don't be the person who's, being irate while you're driving. Just chill out, baby. Yeah.
Everything was good until Todd told me to go to the internet.
All right. So we need to thank
Road.
All right. Thank you, Rode Mics, for providing the fantastic audio gear we get to use every week.
I love it.
And listen, we talk about this all the time, but if you are creating any kind of content, which so many of you are doing that now, of any kind, whether it's for yourself, whether it's for your band, or whether it's for somebody else, Rode has really upped the game on making all that content stuff, gear. So go check them out.
They make good stuff and they make it easy.
They really do. I wanted to share.
You tied that. I was just going to say, you tied that in nicely with driving in the car, listening to the podcast, and then Road.
Yeah, that's what he tries to do that.
I do that. See, it's the whole subtlety of it that really makes it work.
It said no one ever.
I just made it not subtle. So I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tyler.
So as we often get to share on the show, we get some really great mail from people, and I mean, you can call it mail, messages, whatever.
Yeah, it's just
correspondence,
words,
things,
words of praise.
And this one is from one of our super users, I guess you could say.
Who's that?
This is Bruce Bacon.
Ah,
Brucey. He said, Todd, I just listened to your epic Would You Rather with Misfit Boss pedals. The Boss pedals that are sort of misfits.
Yes.
Not like a misfit band sponsored, or you know what I mean. Okay.
They take that serious, you know.
I could hear everyone's brain cells overheating, trying to figure out their poison. That was glorious. I wrote down the pedals and went through it and chose the same ones as you did. And the coup de grace was, that's a death blow, by the way. The coup de grace was the roller skating Zorro Thief, A+. I like that one too. That was kind of fun.
That was fun.
I was semi-inspired by Bob's Burgers, roller skating. I have to ask, was the roller skating thief inspired by the Chips episode? Chips was a 70s TV show, a buddy cop show. Chips stands for California Highway Patrol. Highway Patrol.
John.
Episode with roller skating thieves, which was real, and I do recall that. One of which was the NFL legend Jim Brown.
Oh my!
He was literally on every TV show.
Love Boat.
Yep. With Halloween around the corner, you have to see the Chips episode with Donnie Most of Happy Days, who was Ralph Malph.
Ralph Malph, yes.
He was the devil rocker Moloch. On Chips, and that's when Chips began to jump the shark. That's when they had Ponch's, Ponch's like kind of like heftier buddy, like kind of came in a little bit later. Anyways, if a pedal builder built a Moloch themed pedal, I would buy it sight unseen. Okay, there's a challenge, all you pedal builders. That's hard to say.
What do they do with the parts that are inside of that, Todd?
They build them.
No, but what do they put them? What's the thing that they do?
They
that uses a hot iron and the silver stuff. What do they do?
Yeah, he just said it. Solder. Yeah, I'm saying it right.
Solder.
Actually, I'm making a shirt that says it's pronounced solder, but it's ridiculous because it's a shirt and it's written and it doesn't solve the problem at all. So I thought that would be a funny shirt. But what's funny is I actually have a story about Chips. I was at a show one time, a punk show, and these two guys were like going at it. They were screaming at each other, and I thought someone hit someone or something. They were arguing about what Chips stood for. I walked over to it, and the guy's like, "Why is it called Chips? If it's called California Highway Patrol, why is there an I and S?" And the guy's like, "The I is lowercase," and they were like screaming at each other.
Yeah,
and that was from like when I was in high school. I've never forgot that. It was fantastic. I thought they were like someone was being racist or something like that, and no, they were arguing about what Chips stood for.
As people do. As people do.
Another classic 70s show that involved punk rock was the Quincy punk rock episode, where I think
every show had a punk rock episode or a heavy metal episode.
Yeah, because it was like 78 or so, 78, 79, and when punk was getting big in the United States. So Quincy had to solve the case.
Yeah. Quincy was great. Yes. Okay, so anyways, on the super old TV sitcom and drama podcast, I just wanted to address your shirt idea. Sorry, your shirt idea. Speaking of throwback, there was a fantastic, extremely talented singer from the UK called, and her name was spelled Sade.
Sade.
Yes.
Oh, right? I'm sorry. Did I ruin it?
Well, it isn't. It's everybody was like, "Oh, Sade," right? And they had to put things on like the records and everything that said pronounced Sade. So you could say solder pronounced Sade. I'd wear that.
Sade?
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways.
We're going to do another one for chassis as well, because of course, chassis is, people say chassis all the time.
Yeah. You could just do a run of them. Anyways, wow.
We're off.
Here we go.
We're off.
Let's find out what's going on in our music worlds this way. Thank you, Bruce Bacon, for sending that lovely, lovely letter.
Thank you.
That dude delivers every time.
He does.
Yes.
He does. Yeah.
Bacon later, too.
That's right.
You might have to have him on the show or something as a as a guest.
Yeah.
At some
Maybe just
point.
like as a peripheral guest.
Perry Farrell guest. We need to find out what's going on in our music world this week. Tony is going to start us off, and then we're going to check in with Tyler.
Well, you know, Todd, a week or two ago,
I do.
our good friend,
I know him now, too.
Frank Daimel, suggested that we check out the Les Lee system. Mm-hmm. And we had a brief discussion here about that.
I'm going to try to get him on the show.
I think we should definitely get him on the show.
I just said I'm going to try to get him on the show.
And for those of you who don't know, this is an onboard electronic device that basically switches between the bridge pickup and the neck pickup, kind of like a tremolo, except it's kind of a tremolo / wah, because it's a totally different sound, but it sounds really cool. And it's a variable speed, so you can go between the neck and the bridge pickups. Yeah. So I did. I took Frank's advice, and I went over to the pickupsleslee.com site. And the gentleman that has that site has worked with Frank over the years. His name's Pascal Stoffels.
He's the one who created it.
Well, yeah, I think he has there's a good history on it, because I remember when Frank was on our show a while back, he talked about this particular thing, and it was
and you did too,
and it was actually a motor that would switch between the bridge and the neck and bridge and the neck, and so now they've got it streamlined down to the system that will fit in just about any guitar.
You can pick your own configuration.
Yes. Let me. Can I continue?
Sure,
if it's okay with you, Tom.
Yeah.
So Pascal worked with Frank and another gentleman, Matthias Grob, to reduce the size and the power consumption, and also they opened it up to a variety of models. Right now, they are up to 7 different guitars that this will fit in, with very little modification. I mean,
I'm waiting for do the single pickup version.
That would be a tremolo. That would be a tremolo. So you already have one.
So can you? I'm sorry. Is it's switching electrically between the pickups, or is it like physically spinning pickups?
No, it's switching the signal from the pickups. So it's kind of it blends between bridge, neck,
yeah.
and then depending on what speed you set it at. So it's it has a very tremolo effect.
It's a much more advanced version of you toggling between your 2 pickups.
Right, I figured,
without the cutout.
Without the cutouts in the middle. So they got.
I was curious.
They have 7 different models that will fit into pretty much some standard guitars without a lot of modifications. And then what you have to do is you patch this stuff in, but you can always reverse it. So you're not routing the body. You're not doing anything crazy like that. So if you've got a Jazzmaster, a Strat, a Tele, a Jaguar, a Les Paul, a Tele Deluxe, or a Tele Custom, these things will drop right in. And you sacrifice a little something in terms of the knobs, because it does require one knob that is dedicated to the speed function. Mm-hmm. But for instance, on a Les Paul or a Tele Deluxe or Custom, you've got 4 knobs to deal with, so they just take it down to a master tone, and then the other tone knob becomes the controller for the...
Right.
You could also do a concentric knob, too, so you could actually leave... You wouldn't have to mess with your 4 standard controls, and then you just have one concentric that is for speed.
Well, you could do that, but what
it's dual gang, but it's split shaft as well, so like there's 2 individual shafts.
Yeah.
That are controlled independently.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what they do is they actually make a component that replaces. You basically pull your 4 pots out and plop this circuit board into
That is exactly what it does.
And what's I found...
So you don't have to rig anything yourself. That's the kind of the beauty of it.
Yeah, I mean, you connect the pickups and you're done.
Bada bing, bada boom.
And what's super cool about it, because when we were talking about it, there is no onboard battery. And I said, that can't be, because it's a circuit, right?
Yeah.
But it's a super, super efficient circuit. And what they do is he has what they call a super capacitor. I'm guessing it's just an electrolytic capacitor that you charge with a 9-volt battery, and you just basically plug into your input jack and connect it to a 9-volt for about 10 seconds, and the thing will hold charge for at least a couple of gigs. Although they do recommend before every gig, charging up the cap, which provides the electrical charge. So, it's that I thought that was kind of neat, and I've always
just put
been
a watch battery in there or something, right?
Well, I guess they could have.
So they probably need more current. So the difference between, if you want to get nerdy for a second,
Let's do it.
Let's do it, man.
the difference between a cell battery and a capacitor is a battery has a higher internal resistance, so it takes longer to charge, but it releases current slower, right? A capacitor, super low internal resistance, so it can be charged up really fast, but in the past, there was no way for us to sort of harness dissipation. It would just dump everything it had. So now with supercapacitors and certain control circuitry, we can use the benefits of both, of being able to charge it up quickly, but then being able to use the current a lot slower. So with a watch battery, like a coin cell battery that Todd was mentioning, you could totally do that, but I'm guessing it probably needs a little bit more current, and it would require you to get into the pickguard. And if it doesn't have, if you have active pickups, you typically have some sort of 9-volt battery door where you wouldn't have that. So you'd have to unscrew the pickguard every time, which would be a little bit cumbersome.
Yeah,
right?
I agree. Well, that's cool. Though, thanks for. I wasn't quite sure, when they said supercapacitor. Here I am thinking,
it's an electrolytic capacitor. You're right. It's just really large in capacitance value.
Okay,
it's like what you see in a lot of electric cars now, supercapacitors.
Okay.
Interesting.
Very good. Or in Germany, they would call it an
Check out the big brain
capacitor.
on Brad.
What else? Oh, it also has a stereo capability, so you could actually run the signal from the
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that really exaggerates.
Really make it feel like a Leslie kind of thing.
It would sound very much like a Leslie. Quite.
Are we
honestly.
still talking about the Leslie thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you just wake up? So anyhow, these things range from like $235 to $250, depending on which model you use. And, I think that kind of puts it in the realm of, what we would consider, a good price for a boutique pedal.
Yeah.
But what's cool,
Except the pedal can't do that.
Yeah, this is right on the guitar, and it does its thing. So
Yeah.
I have to decide what guitar I want to experiment this with.
Feels like a Rickenbacker kind of thing.
Well,
right?
No, I don't think I'd put it in a Rick.
Okay.
I mean, I guess I could.
Jazzmaster?
I mean, yeah, Jazzmaster or Jaguar maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do the Jaguar.
Yeah.
But anyhow.
Didn't they use jazz organs for those, right?
The what?
Like organs. Or organs. Jazz organ. Blues organ.
Are you talking about Leslie cabinets?
Are you talking about like a spinning Leslie speaker? Yeah, rotary speaker.
Yeah, that's not this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not this.
But you're not far.
Whenever you say
sound,
Leslie, whenever you say Leslie, that's all I could think about is that Leslie rotating speaker.
Okay.
You know what's cool about the Leslie too is like the traditional one is a stationary speaker that has a drum, and the drum
speaker moves around the speaker. Yeah.
And the sound from the speaker gets scooped out by the drum and get thrown around in a chorus effect. Yamaha made one back in the day where the speaker itself actually moved. And if you've never seen that Leslie, I'd suggest go checking it out. Just type in, Yamaha rotary speaker, and it's pretty wild. Like, because you would think the wires would get tangled, but they created this custom hub that allows it to keep the electrical connection, but the whole entire speaker spins.
That's crazy.
That is cool.
Yeah. Like they make this cabinet, it's got like they make one that has 3 separate speakers that are all spinning at the same time. And I think there's even one that has 6 in it.
That is very psychedelic.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's pretty awesome.
So anyhow, once I pick my victim, I'm going to. I think I'm going to order one of these up because
that'd be cool.
I think it's really cool. I mean, when we talked to Frank about it originally, I said, "Oh, are you going to ever make these available for other guitars?" And he says, "Well, not right now."
Yeah.
So, but I think it's a great idea, and I'm glad that they're opening it up to kind of standard models.
Yeah, very cool.
Sounds awesome.
Tyler, how about yourself? No, I think we got about 10 minutes left on the show.
Sorry about that.
I'm just kidding, Tony.
No worries.
We love hearing from you. Go ahead, Tyler. What's going on in your music world this week that is not? See if you can talk about not building pedals or amps.
Oh, that's tough for me. So the biggest thing for us right now is we are converting from a repair shop to a full production shop. So that's really where our time has been consumed. So we used to do repairs and then custom builds, and then we had a few products that we would make just on the side, and that business started building up more and more. And so about a month ago we made the decision and we made the announcement that we weren't going to do repairs anymore, and so that's where all our time has sort of been consumed.
Excellent.
And so the other thing is too, I recorded a record with my old band New Junk City, and that record comes out this month. So that's where I'm at, like musically, in time right now. So got a record coming out.
Very cool.
Shop is changing over to full production.
Are you gonna press that record?
Yeah, it's getting pressed.
Excellent. We should talk.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to try to say, "Oh, you should press with mine." We're going to be shopping around pressings. So
pressings.
Indeed. Thank you for sharing that, Jared. About yourself.
So a few big things are happening. By the time this episode comes out, one of the big things are happening, or probably has already happened, but it's kind of the culmination of why I went to Gibson and started working at Gibson. So keep your eyes peeled on the Gibson website and pickup wise, and enjoy that. I went to a party last night. A buddy of mine called me and said, "Hey, there's this party out at the East Bowl." So it was at a bowling alley, and a bunch of people there. And my friend Andy invited me out, and he's like, "Hey, I want to introduce you to my buddy Jason, and you guys are big gearheads." And he introduced me to Jason, and told Jason that I'd worked at Gibson and was the pickup product manager, development, and all that. And we just started talking gear, and we were standing there talking gear for about 15, 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. And he's telling me about this Real 59 he has that he bought. And we're just talking about old stuff and pickups and what dudes do, man. Dudes just being guys talking about gear, right? Mm-hmm. And he walks away. He's like, "Excuse me, I gotta get some food or whatever." And my other buddy Jason comes walking over and says, "Do you know who you were just talking to?" And I'm like, "No, this dude named that's Jason. He's a really nice guy." And blah blah blah. Said, "Yes, that's Jason Isbell."
Oh, really?
That's wild.
That's awesome.
Like, well, I like Jason Isbell. He's a nice guy. And I kind of knew he was really somebody when he and I'm the dopey one, right? I should know who he is, and I'm a dope for not knowing, by the way. That's just a disclaimer. But he's won 4 Grammys, and the Les Paul he was talking about was the Red Eye 59 Les Paul that belonged to one of the guitar players in Lynyrd Skynyrd.
Didn't you play that one?
Offhand. No, that was the cracked. That was a cracked headstock. Same guy. I forgot his name. Forgive me. Legendary guy.
Was it Rosington or?
No, it's the other. It's the guy that quit before the other guy came in with. I don't remember his name either. It came in with
you are a wealth of information, Jared.
I got to tell you, man. I didn't even know who the hell I was talking to, and the guy's a fine musician, and shame on me.
Well, that's just how that speaks to him too. He's just a freaking awesome guy in general.
He
as
is.
A person.
He was we were just guys talking about gear.
Yeah,
And
I don't know him, but I've just seen all his interactions, and she just seems like an amazing person.
Yeah.
so the party was for Oddly Free.
Yeah.
And he is one of the guitar players for Black Crowes, and now he plays for Sheryl Crow. And my other buddy Jason, not Jason Isbell, says, yeah, I bet Sheryl Crows is gonna show up. And I'm like, nah, she ain't gonna show up here. And then as soon as I said that, there she is. She's walking around,
Wow.
grabbed a plate of food.
You manifested it. It's amazing.
I know. And she grabbed a plate of food. I think she had her teenage kid with her that had just played a baseball game somewhere. And they were just people being people, man. It was a really good time.
I've heard that
Was he in his baseball uniform?
No.
Okay, I thought
did-
you were. I just pictured like Sheryl Crow walking around with her kid,
With
and he's
a-
like
with a
still
baseball
wearing his
kid?
like little league, like
No,
still wearing
I-
his little league outfit.
No, I think the fella that takes care of her property and went with him and driving around, I talked to him for a while too, and he and forgive me, I forgot the name, but I'm terrible with names. You know me. But we him, me, and Oddly, we talked about grilling with our green eggs. So we just exchanged like grilling recipes and stuff. And my other buddy Jason Quixel is a fine musician from Columbus. I want to give him a quick shout out because he's been in this conversation for a while. Really nice guy. But I had a great time last night. It was, I guess I was kind of out of my league there, but honestly, I just fit right in and just talked about gear and
maybe
grilling.
they thought
So,
you were
Freaking
security.
awesome.
I know. Hey, I could have been, but they were just as nice as well. So I mean, it was a fine time.
That's great, dude.
And
That's awesome.
Andy Harrison invited me to that. He said,
Oh, nice.
so he's like, hey, Oddly, I'd like to see you out to the party. Come on out. So
That's cool, man.
that was-
Oddly
that
enough.
was good times. Oddly enough, yeah. So yeah, it was a
Right.
good time.
How about you, Todd? What's going on in your musical world this
I
week?
had a very, very busy week, and I had back-to-back gigs, which is fun. It's also challenging and very draining. And so I had a plus, and I had a thumbs up and a thumbs down on some things that happened.
Tell us more.
Well, the thumbs down, I'll start that, was we got pulled onto both of them a little bit. I kind of late-ish, not too terribly late, but we opened one and we closed another, which in and of itself, no big deal. Like, we're not, we'll play whatevs, right?
Yeah.
But the problem is, these were 4-band gigs, and look, that's just garbage. 4 bands, anything more than 3, honestly,
I agree.
at a small, venue, it's too much. It's too much. And the thing is, the people that end up getting screwed are the ones that are going first and last, the ones that have to stick around the longest. So those are really long nights. And, yes, we had a good time. Yes, we made new connections, and I'll play in front of 2 people. I'm fine doing that. There was a lot more than that, which, thankful. But it's just like, man, you can't expect people to stick around for 4 bands. It's too much. So
Unless
stop
the beer
doing
is
that,
free.
people. And we're probably going to be saying no, hell to the no for 4-band gigs, unless it's like a whole Saturday or something like that. But just, a Friday night or a Saturday night, it's like, this is too much.
It's tough for like out of town bands too if they're
It's
part of the
so
bill.
tough.
Like,
Yeah, because they want to get going.
Man.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
want to get going, and you run into that dynamic if like the local draw goes before them, and then everyone leaves,
Right.
And
Right.
That's like worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Oh, man.
fortunately, we played with a bunch of great bands and made some new friends, and it was really cool. And one of the Saturday night we played, this was if it was kind of special. We took some pictures of this particularly because all like three of the 4 bands were all female fronted, which was really cool, including ours, and it was
Nice.
kind of
That's
cool.
awesome. Heck yeah.
So the up was, I mentioned the Guitar Assassin pick holder strip thing that I got a couple of weeks back.
Yes.
Worked beautifully.
Nice.
It was fantastic.
What is it?
It's called. So I'm actually going to try to see if we can get a connection on here with the show. And
It's a strip
get some
of
product
goo that you
it's-
put on your guitar, and allegedly doesn't
There's no
pull the
adhesive.
finish.
There's no adhesive.
But you put your picks on it.
Yeah, and they stick. So it's kind of like I think it must be made out of the same kind of stuff that your dashboard.
It's a space age polymer.
It is.
Yeah,
a space age
So
polymer.
Lash uses that,
yeah.
doesn't he?
It's all. Yeah, that's where I saw it. So, anyways, highly recommend getting some. And like I said, I think we're going to try to get something going with the show. Maybe some Go branded stuff or whatever. I don't know.
That sounds amazing. Did you see the joke pedal we made, by the way, that throws picks?
No.
So most people store their picks in like an Altoids tin.
Yeah.
We made a pedal that looked like an Altoids tin, but it had a motor in it, and it throws picks up to you.
Oh boy, that's hilarious.
It's a joke though. Like, I mean, I made it work, but it's not anything we're gonna offer. But you made me think of that because that, like, using that adhesive, would be amazing for me because that's my number one spot is to put it under my pick guard.
Right
down below, and they almost always fall out or something. But it's the most convenient for me.
Yeah, it either falls out or you can't get it out, and so you look like a schmuck trying to do that. It is awesome.
So that sounds awesome. Yeah.
Anyways, that's it. So let's move on to a couple other things, shall we?
Yes. So, Todd, when you show up to these 4-band gigs,
yes,
are you allowed to bring your gear, or do you just bring like your pedal board?
Oh, you mean like a backline thing?
Yeah.
I bring all my own gear.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I'm not backline.
But if you had to do a backline, would you just?
I have before, but I still just bring my pedal board and my guitars.
So on your pedal board,
yes,
I'm assuming you have more than one pedal on there.
I do. That's why I have a board for it.
Ah, how big is the board?
Big enough to hold pedals.
Ooh, I like that idea.
Yeah,
now,
like that.
I understand that there is a vast difference in the way that you can connect these pedals.
Yes, you can do them messily and clumsily.
Spaghetti-ish.
And expensively, or you can do it cleanly, tightly.
How do you do it?
Cheaply. I do it that way through Tour Gear Designs patch cables.
Tour Gear Designs.
Yeah, that's right, Tony. Head over to tourgeardesigns.com. Throw a whole bunch of them in your cart of all different sizes, lengths, configurations, the whole 9 yards. Forgive that. And then go ahead, and then when you get to the coupon area, you put in the guitar knobs.
All one word?
All one word.
All lowercase.
And you're going to save 10% on your entire order.
10% on an already reasonably priced product.
Better than reasonably priced, Tony. They're
right.
downright very reasonable.
Very nice.
Anyways, thank you to tourgeardesigns.com for sponsoring our 4 on the floor.
Let me get a little bit of this.
1, 2, 3. 4 on the floor. All right, Tyler from Acorn Amps. Give us your 4 on the floor.
First one I'm going with is I have an older green Russian muff. Yes. So Sovtek green Russian muff.
Ooh. Do you still have the box?
I do not. So a good story about this one. I got it for $5 at a garage sale because it just had a bad input jack, and the person didn't know what they had. And
wow,
it was a pretty great score. I've had my share of scores. I'm not I have friends who score tons of amazing stuff. I'm not that person, but I do have my share of them, and that is one of them.
That's cool.
And my favorite thing about that pedal is the tone control. It's insane how. And I'm sure you're familiar with, big muff circuits, just how thick it can go from to thin. You can get a really thick, just chunky fuzz all the way up to just kind of nasally, trebly, thinned out tones and everything.
You can go from a bearskin coat to a Mylar windbreaker.
I loved where that was going right when you said bearskin. That was fantastic. What is frustrating about that pedal, and I actually don't know if it's unique to my pedal, but it does not engage until you let your foot off of the foot switch.
Oh, interesting.
But it's kind of cool because you could prep ahead of time. You could put your foot on the foot. It just got the larger, large silver button style that was from that series. And you can put your foot on it and engage it, but it doesn't engage the effect. And then when you let off of it, that's when it cuts in.
That's cool. So you can kind of preempt and let it fly if you need to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's kind of the cool concept of like using an effects loop pedal where you can kind of go through while you're playing and just engage the effects that you want to come on with the single push of a button. You can kind of prepare that way. So you kind of have that same sense of preparedness. You don't have to try to like time anything with the downward stomp. You can do it with a let off, which is, it's kind of weird. So I say that's a downside of it, but it's also kind of cool.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Number two.
So I have 3 rats so number 2 is a rat, but I have 3 that I trade between. So can I mention the 3 and sort of treat that as one?
Sure.
Okay. One is a local gentleman to you. It is Rare Buzz, and they make the Snitch pedal.
Oh, yes.
So I got a Snitch from actually 2 versions because they did the Ukrainian.
He was going to be here tonight, actually, but he had a fundraiser that he was working on.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He does. John is. John's like all unionized, and he's a pretty awesome guy. And yeah, like I said, I have 2 Snitches from him, so it makes this rotation on my board.
That's cool.
The other one is from another gentleman in New York. His name is his company is Gearan. He's Elad.
Yeah, he's been on the show. He's one of our executive producers.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Well, have you seen his pedals that he does? Like he does traditional like heritage pedals, but in boss enclosures.
Yes.
Yes.
So he did the Big Muff in a boss enclosure, and he did the MXR D+. Well, he did a Proco Rat. And so that one sits on my board. In fact, he's doing a convention, and I sent him mine so he could use it as a convention.
Oh, that's cool.
So I'll be without that one, but that one makes the rotation. And then the last one is the Pack Rat by JHS.
Nice.
So that thing, I don't know, I'm sure you've heard of it too, but for the listeners, if you haven't, it's basically every Rat model in one, but it's not what you typically see from people who have like switches that allow you to switch between versions in their pedals. This one is like discrete circuits for each effect. So it's an entire pedal for every selection that you choose.
So you're not just switching out like resistors
You're not
and
just
stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's an entire circuit for every selection on the rotary. Pack Rat.
That's a great name.
Yeah.
Great name.
So I love the Rat circuit just because it's got that like bite to it that you don't really get from the Big Muff.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to use them individually, and I like to stack them.
Perfect. I love it. Number 3.
Number 3 is a Boss DM3 analog delay. But I use it in a very funny configuration because it's not terribly funny. I mean, other people do it this way, but I don't play a lot of like ambient atmospheric music. I play a lot of like fast punk or pop punk or stuff like that. So I use it in a slapback configuration.
Oh, that's cool.
And it stays there. Like it's the rate is all the way up, close to all the way up, and the echo is close to all the way down. So I use it for like a room sound, but definitely not your traditional like delay. There's no repeats that are perceivable the way like a long delay would be.
Right.
It gives this like hollow room sound that I love, and by itself it sounds a little weird, but when it's mixed in with a band, I think it's one of my favorite sounds.
That's cool. I may have to try that out next time I'm playing and see what practicing and see what that does. I like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it the Waza version or straight up?
No, it's a vintage one. I was fortunate enough to come across
Nice.
without paying $1 million for it.
Yeah. Number 4.
Number 4 is a weird one. It is actually a Vox wah pedal that I removed from the wah enclosure and just use it as a set filter.
Ah,
Love that idea.
So if you've ever used a wah pedal, but you're not using it like sweeping with your feet, you can, the stock Vox is actually very ice picky, but you can get it to, you can obviously do circuit mods, and you can, the way that a wah pedal works is the sweep of it doesn't allow you to go through the full rotation of the pot, because the full rotation of the pot is 300 degrees, but it doesn't allow you to do that. So you can actually solve some of the ice pickiness by sweeping the pot, like taking the linear gear off, sweeping it forward a little bit, and then reattaching it. So you shift it towards the lower frequencies.
Clever.
And so what I'll do is I typically do not sweep a wah. I don't use it like that. I use it just for the filter effect. So I don't want to waste a lot of pedal board space with the big enclosure. So I put it in a new enclosure.
Step super hard and praying that it's on.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Yeah, with no LED or no indicator. But
Very
this one
cool.
has this one has a foot switch. It has an indicator, and it's a single knob, and I can shift it as I please.
That's really
And
cool.
It's pretty great.
Excellent. Well, that's a pretty solid 4 on the floor. That's pretty fun. And I think those were all new ones.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
Might
maybe the
have been.
DM3's been on. Yeah, but everything
that's
else has been
definitely-
new. Yeah.
And the Vox Wah's been on before.
Oh, but this is a different version.
Well,
of that.
okay. All right, Tom.
Yeah, I'm just saying, splitting hairs.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so thank you so much for sharing that with us. So Tyler of Acorn Amps, we're going to talk to you about the things that you make and why people basically should care and maybe contact you and get some stuff and what's driving all of this. I think the super obvious question is why Acorn?
So why the name Acorn?
Yeah.
That's actually a funny story. So
Good.
There's a
Because that would be a crap question if it went.
I've got an oak tree that lives in the front yard.
to be in the front of the phone book.
Oh, well, this is awkward because it does involve an oak tree that was in the front yard.
Okay. All right.
I am a mind reader.
So the first shop I worked in was a metal shed. So almost everyone I know has started off like on their kitchen table, and you get to a point where you graduate. You either graduate to an extra room you have in a house, or you have a garage space or something where you get out of the living room working on the table and you have some sort of workshop. Well, my first one was a metal shed on the side of my house, and it sat under an oak tree, and there were squirrels. Yeah, and the squirrels. And so you have to picture this. I'm repairing high voltage tube amps and measuring, 500, 600, 700 volts. And it's a metal tin roof. And it just out of nowhere, like it's not like it's consistent or anything like that. Just like occasionally, just like bang, hits the top of the shed. And there have been plenty of times where I thought I was going to die because I either jumped and shorted something, or luckily I have a lot of, precautions, safety features in place in my shop.
Yeah.
Extra breakers and extra fuses and things like that. But that was the first sort of memory I have of Acorns associated with the business. And this was a long, long, long time ago when I was by myself.
That's cool. You could have remedied that by putting an old mattress up there. And then somebody would be driving by. Henry, look at that. He's got a mattress on his shed. Well, of course he does. Where else would you put it?
Well, it was funny because it was so few and far between. Like I said, it got to a point where I would just forget about it, and then everything would be hunky dory.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, bang, it would hit.
I bet that also lent itself to quite a few burnt fingers with soldering. Zap! Ah!
I do have a lot. I don't know if that caused it, but I definitely have a lot of burnt scars on my fingers and things like that.
Yeah. Well, see, that is a good story. I'm glad I asked. I didn't know if that was going to be too obvious or not, but it's all. I think most people's names have, they start somewhere. It's got some kind of story behind it.
Yes, it does.
Well, there's two more parts to it.
Okay.
There's a vacuum tube
Yes.
called an Acorn tube. Have you ever seen it?
I'm not familiar with a thing called an acorn tube.
Yeah, it looks just like, it's actually upside down, but the glass envelope of it looks exactly like an
Oh,
acorn.
it's got like
and
a little point on the top.
and the pins come out the side.
What?
Really?
Yeah, it's an old RF tube, and I think a few people, you ever listen to the Vintage Amp podcast,
Yeah.
Tava. I think there's a few people in that group that have built Acorn tube amplifiers.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then the last thing is, I was actually going to go in business with someone, and this was before, smartphones and all that stuff, and there were still phone books. And he was like, if we're going to be in the phone book, I want us to be an A.
Tony
name.
and I both called that. That is hilarious. How he called the tree and I called the phone book. Jokingly, mind you.
Did you say the phone book?
Yes.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. No, that was it. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
He wanted it to be AA so that, and I was like, well, I don't want to be AA,
Yeah.
but we can be something else.
Yeah. I thought you could have gone with you could keep spinning that and say, and I was going to go in a partnership with a guy named Ashley Korn, and there we got Acorn.
Acorn.
Yeah. Anyways, so that's cool. Now you're obviously a rather industrious gent. You're making all kinds of like one-offs and fun things, and you're able to sort of whiz bang stuff out, as well as create things that are meant to be like, hey, we're going to make a batch of these, and they're not just chicanery, whatever.
Yeah.
How did you? Where does that come from?
Which part of that?
The industrious gent part.
Oh, so I've just like, I'm sure you've heard this before from a lot of people who are like tinkerers. Just from as far as I can remember, I used to take my toys apart and put them back together and do circuit bends with them before I knew what like circuit bending was, just kind of like blowing stuff up and just kind of going from there. And then I knew from a young age that I did not want to work for anybody else. So like,
Didn't want to or couldn't? Or both.
I mean, couldn't in the sense of like my brain can't handle like a standard 9 to 5, like tedious.
Yeah,
I get you. My brain just, I have extreme ADHD.
Yeah.
And the University of Florida says I have the second worst case of ADHD that they've ever seen.
Wow.
And it's just, my brain is absolutely nonstop, and putting myself in a situation that's not like creative.
Yeah.
And creative art-wise, right brain, and creative left brain, then it's too much for me, and I needed to get out at a very young age and work for myself. So
There you go.
Started doing all sorts of, I was an electrician for a while, then I became a guitar tech, and then through all that stuff, just started doing full-time repairs and builds.
That's cool. And you started off with the amps first?
Yes. Yeah.
That's pretty ambitious.
It absolutely. There was my story about that is I was in a band with a guy named Alex Suarez. Shout out to him. And he had a V4. It was the first tube amp I ever saw. And I mean, I liked the look of it from the outside, from the front. And we played together for a long time. And I remember I walked behind his amp one day because we were in a practice space. So, we never saw behind his amp. And I saw, the 7027 tubes in the back of his Ampeg V4. And I just like, why are there glass bulbs in the back of your amplifier? And he's just like, you never heard of a tube amp before? I was like, no. I mean, we're super young, we're
Sure.
in high school. And I was like, no. That's amazing. And from that point on, I was just like,
Mystified, captified.
amps. I'm all about amps. That's all I want to do.
That's cool.
So yeah, went full throttle into amps for a long time for sure. It's my first love.
That's very cool. Now, how many models do you have?
Models of tube amps, we have two main models with some like variations. So we have the Gainesville, which is actually named after Gainesville, Florida. And, is that not the perfect name for an amplifier, Gainesville? It's like Sound
makes
City,
a lot of sense. Yeah.
Sound City, high watt, Gainesville. I knew from the moment I started making amps, I was going to call it
Birthplace of Tom Petty.
Yeah, that's right. There's
love Tom Petty.
I absolutely love Tom Petty. And have you seen that documentary, the
yes,
Running Down a Dream one?
It's fantastic.
So good. I've watched it like 1,000 times.
I actually I sent a couple notes out to Mike Campbell actually when he was just kind of during the the pandemic when everybody's kind of just sitting on their hands, and he was trying desperately to figure out how to do content on Instagram. I'm like, I'm gonna see if he wants to just talk to us. I didn't hear anything back, but Mike Campbell, amazing. I know you're listening out there, buddy. Yeah, Gibson got to him first. Whatever.
My claim to fame is that Ben Montench once posted someone wearing an Acorn shirt on his IG.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. It was not the greatest post, like, content-wise, because it was talking about, like, the sort of, like, small turnouts of modern local shows. Like, basically saying, like, more people need to get out and go to shows. And it showed a picture of, like, a half-empty venue, less than half. Oh. And someone was wearing an Acorn shirt.
Yeah, I can see where that goes. It hits both ways, yes.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
For sure. That's cool. So you the Gainesville, what's that, I guess, modeled after? Or is it?
Yeah, so that's a tough one because, you could pick something apart and kind of be like, oh, hey, this is based on this. But with the Gainesville, I wanted to try to be as ground up as possible. Like, I didn't want to reinvent the wheel, but I wanted to approach it from what I like to call Legos.
Sure.
So when you break down a circuit, you can, the one thing you hear about when you're learning electronics and getting into that stuff is a lot of people say a whole circuit is just a bunch of little circuits put together. So when you break it down into like black boxing, you could go as far as, you have your power supply, your power amp, and your preamp. And then you break down your power amp and you're like, what do you want that configuration to be? And what do you want it to sound like? What does the power supply need to be to satisfy that, as well as what you want your preamp to be? How many gain stages? What do you want that tone stack to do? That kind of stuff. So I wanted to, just for myself, approach it from that stance. Mm-hmm. And so if you had to compare it to anything, I would say it's closest to a Vox.
Oh, you got Tony's.
But it has EL34 output tubes and it's cathode bias. So, I mean, the Vox is cathode bias, but it's a quad of EL84s. So it's different in that regard. And it cathodyne. Would you know much about phase inverters, like cathodyne phase inverter versus long tail pair? So just to break it down, as a Fender, a traditional Fender is the bigger boys.
Yeah.
Are more long tail pair, and the Vox AC30 is a long tail pair, and then cathodyne is more of like your smaller amplifiers. So all that to say, basically what I'm just saying is it's sort of like a mix and match of different amps if you really wanted to like get into it like that. Uh-huh. But if I had to say, I would say it's closest to the Vox AC30. I hope I'm not. I feel like I'm rambling.
No, you're good. You're all good. You're all good.
Vox AC30. But like, so the first iteration of it was a solid state rectifier. And I thought we thought it sounded very stiff. And so it strayed from the Vox in that sense because it, the traditional one has a tube rectifier, and then we ended up putting a tube rectifier. Some versions actually even have a switch where you can switch between solid state and tube rectification. So the gains, yeah, that's what the Gainesville is. But there's a Model 30 and then there's a Model 50.
Wow. That's cool.
So-
And is it yeah, I know you've got the gain on it and everything. It's called Gainesville. Is it an amp that really is meant to be running the gain as opposed to just amplifying it?
So that is a hilarious question because the first iteration of it had an extra stage, and that was the Gainesville gain stage, where it was just like an all out, because a lot of the sounds from Gainesville, the ones I enjoyed, Hot Water Music, Against Me, a lot of like heavy punk, all that like No Idea Records sound, just like Marshall EL34's 100 watts pushed to the max. Like that was the sound. And so that's what it was originally sort of like working towards. And then when I moved to Atlanta, there's a lot more pedal platform. And so that extra gain stage actually came out. So it's a little misleading that it's called a Gainesville, because it's not a super heavy gain amp. It's more of a pedal platform amp. It definitely has the ability to be pushed on the front end and get some gain, but it's not as growly as it used to be in its first iteration. It's much more versatile in my opinion.
Awesome. What do
all you have to do is put a boost in front of it, and you've got the original Gainesville circuit. So.
There you go. What speakers do you like to run in with that?
My favorite speakers are vintage 30s, but you get into that whole like they don't make them like they used to kind of thing.
I actually just watched a video about that today.
Yeah, so I really look for older vintage 30s, but because I can't do that for production, Warehouse Speakers makes a veteran 30. So it's their take on the V30, and I think they do a great job. So sometimes we'll do like a pairing. We'll do mix and match of their V30 or their what is it, the Green Beret or whatever, which is their greenback. So yeah, that's typically what I go with in production. But again, too, being like a repair shop, I always try to. Originally, when we were doing custom stuff, I'd always tweak stuff specifically for whatever either someone was bringing us or like someone had lying around, or if they came in and they were like, I definitely want these speakers, we would kind of tweak things and do more custom builds specific to that.
Awesome.
It becomes tough though. That's why if you want to go full production, you kind of have to stray from that a little bit, or else it bogs you down too much, or you have to charge too much.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You're doing custom builds for every single person. You're like, okay, it's going to be $1 billion for every single amplifier.
Yeah.
And we can build like one every like 3 weeks kind of thing.
If anybody does want to check out that video that I was watching, it's from Spectre Sound Studios. He's a long-haired studio guy that like basically just like yells really loud. He's really engaging and real fun. And the guy's name is Glenn Fricker. And if
that's a fantastic name.
Yeah, if you look it up, you're like, oh, okay, I've seen that guy. Yeah, he's like super loud, borderline obnoxious, but in a really entertaining way, and he dishes out great information. So it's interesting because he breaks down essentially why they stopped making them, and interesting. So ta-da, bada bing, bada boom. So let's see here now. So you made broke your way through the amplifiers and stuff, and then along came all the pedals and everything.
Yeah.
When did how did that come about?
So it was funny, like it kind of started the same way. It just was like per customer. Someone would be like, oh, I want a clone of this. And we'd be like, okay, we'll build that for you. And so there's 2 people that work at Acorn besides myself. Actually, they're the 2 that really like make the show happen. Bill Walters and Andrew Elsner. Bill Walter runs everything. He was doing repairs for the most part when I lived, out of town. And Elsner does all the pedal stuff.
Okay.
And so Elsner, he used to be in the band Torch, and he played in a band called Tilts and Riddle of Steel. And he's absolutely amazing, dude. He would build these pedals just from salvage parts. So we, as a repair shop, would get donations. You see a lot of like vintage organs on Craigslist and stuff. Nobody wants them. They're like, pickup only.
Not a big market for used organs.
Yeah, if they're solid state or they're nothing like crazy, most people are like either tossing them or doing whatever. We'd take them and we'd gut them because a lot of those old organs would have old germanium transistors in it. I mean, like fields of germanium transistors and old carbon comp resistors and caps and all that stuff. And so we were basically just like salvaging before Elsner came along. And then when Elsner came along, he was like the dude that was going to be, hey, customer wants a one-off tone bender or range master or tube stream or something. You're going to get it from him, and it's going to be on a perf board. It's going to be one of a kind, like all hand-selected components. Like I said, all salvaged from some other piece of electronics, but like all hand-tested, hand-built, and just absolutely phenomenal. So what happened with that is we just kept getting more and more requests, and people don't want to pay the price of what those were because those would be extra expensive. I mean, think about the time it takes for him to hand select everything and build them. So then we're like, let's start making, circuit boards and start going that way. And the first circuit we actually made was the circuit fuzz. I don't know if you're familiar with that. But it is the first pedal we made that is a germanium hybrid fuzz. And a lot of people in the industry will use PCBs as faceplates.
Yeah.
John from Rare Buzzer does it, and a bunch of other people. And so we were like, there's usually nothing like special about them outside of that they're PCB and you can use like gold and stuff like that on them. But we're like, hey, if we're making a PCB, a faceplate, why not make it something cool? So we actually made it so you can snip out part of the faceplate and build another pedal with it. And that came from the whole fact that we were doing pedal classes. We were doing repairs. We were doing pedal classes. We were very much like promoting people doing their own electronics and learning and figuring all that stuff, learning to solder and all that. So we're like, what better way than we're doing a PCB faceplate, make something cool that someone can snip out and make another. It's the first one we did was a boost circuit. And then we did we do a specialized one for a local music store, Village Music in Avondale Estates, which is in the perimeter of Atlanta. And we do a fuzz face for them. So they have their own circuit fuzz. It's got their logo on it, and it's a different circuit that you can snip out and build a circuit with.
That's really clever. I love the spirit of your take on creativity, DIY, making things like, and how it's all mixed up together,
Yeah, and that's exactly what we were aiming for. So I thought it was a unique design. I really love that pedal.
It's fun.
But it's our first. It's our first. It's my baby.
That's cool. Now, for the pedal line, I know you have a couple pedals featured on your actual site, but I mean, do you feel that Acorn is more aligned with making like, hey, this is, one of 200 of these pedals, or are you more interested in creating, interesting one-offs and customs and stuff?
So our business plan is to do both. So that's a great question because we were originally doing the one-off thing, and then we were sort of finding our feet and trying to figure out exactly like what direction we were going to go into. We're like, why not do both? Why not have, long-standing pedals that stay in stock, and then do these like one-off cool, short-run pieces. And I really like doing that too because, I don't know, I don't know. 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 I I said I wasn't going to mention it, but I'm going to mention it anyway. We did the Dragon Ball Z pedal, which is not for sale. But what makes it cool is the circuit itself can be a base for other products for people who don't like Dragon Ball Z. So people are like, oh, hey, it's cool. I like this. That pedal sounds awesome, but I'm not a fan of Dragon Ball Z. It's like, well, we offer that same circuit, but here it's in this. We're having this limited edition Halloween pedal come out, which is a series I've been wanting to do for a while called the X-Ray series. So the faceplate, it's a person with X-ray goggles holding another person's arm. And when you engage it, you see the bones behind the arm.
That's awesome. That's
that
awesome.
you cannot see until it's engaged.
Yeah. Well, that is one of the fun things about the how do you say that again?
Kakarot. We call it the carrot fuzz because that means carrot. Yeah.
It was cool because you do see it light up, which is I think a really fun factor of this.
So I think, someone will correct me, and I don't mean to sound arrogant at all, but I'm pretty sure we originated that lighting technique where you use part of the back of the PC to create the image. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of people light PCBs. That's nothing new. But you see what it's going to be before it's lit up. Like you see the general outline of whatever the indicator light is, and then it lights up. And some of this stuff is like badass. I've seen some really amazing light up panels. But I think what we did unique was you don't see, it's all done on the backside of the PC. So until you step on that foot switch, you don't actually see what the shape of the indicator light's going to be.
Right.
So
I dig it.
I'm just having tons of fun, like messing around with that stuff.
That's cool.
So we got a bunch of stuff like that coming out.
Man, oh man, you're an industrious chap.
So, and if you don't mind, I could say one thing real fast.
Please,
The first pedal that really took off for us, I think put us on the map, was the solid state. So it is a PV. It's a clone of a PV amplifier, but when we were looking at the schematic for the circuit that we wanted to replicate, we realized that the preamp out, which is what you typically want to do when you're creating a replica pedal, you're doing the preamp of it, right? A lot of people do that. Mm-hmm. We realized the preamp out is a voltage divider off of the power amp, and so we're like, how crazy would it be if we actually incorporated the power amp and then had the tried and true to be to replicate it as closely as possible, have the line out off of the power amp, and then have a power amp. So that pedal, the solid state, is a 10-watt amplifier, and people have done amps and pedals before, of course. But what I love about this pedal is this Class AB. So a lot of people push towards Class D, which is cool. I don't have anything against Class D. I think it's really starting to take off and get better. And tone-wise, really, if your preamp is fantastic and you got a decent Class D amplifier, there's no issues. But just staying with the original circuit, it being Class AB, we were very excited to be able to fit all of that into a tiny enclosure, and it's been our go-to pedal. Like it's probably the pedal we'll have in stock always forever, with different variations.
Yeah.
Forever.
That's crazy. 10-watt solid state guitar amps in there. It's funny because I remember looking at when that came out. So I have the classic VTX, and I'm just kind of flipping through, and I saw it. I was like, that looks like a PV amp. And then I was like, wait, it kind of is a PV amp.
Yeah, it absolutely is. There's an artist, Daniel Danger. He does the Totally Normal Behavior with Josh Scott.
Yeah.
So Daniel Danger, he's got the largest Electro-Harmonix pedal collection ever. And he's doing a special artist series for us. He redrew that front panel of the solid state. And so we'll be releasing a blacked out version in his artistic style, because he's like an amazing artist. I don't know if you've ever seen his artwork, but he does these prints for bands big bands, and they're super detailed. They're these like sort of like not like apocalyptic, but just sort of I guess you could call it that. Lots of buildings that are like falling apart and lots of debris, like this tedious drawings of like wood planks and cinder blocks and just debris. And it's his brain is amazing, his artwork. And so he lent his brain to redo the Solid State, and we'll be releasing that soon.
That's really cool.
So that's a great website page you have too. I love how you have it on your website here. And it's in the background, you have an old school PV mixer amp.
Yeah.
And I had that thing, man. I swear I had that. I think I've had every PV amp known to man, but no, I had that mixer amp. And when I looked at that, it just kind of took me back to the 90s when that's all I could afford was like some sort of PV amp.
Yeah, I was talking to someone else, and they're like, you know, everyone's got a PV story. Like everyone has to have some sort of PV story because there's so many different models and they're affordable, and you know they're like tough as hell. So
yeah,
I mean they had that same style for a billion years.
Yeah.
So that Tolex, I think they bought like 5 billion miles.
It was just like the rockiest Tolex. It looks like there's pebbles underneath it. It is. You could sand your arm on that Tolex. Like it's insane. It's how.
But no, that's
gravelly it is.
Brilliant.
I'm pretty sure
it's a brilliant pedal, man. It's pretty cool.
Thank you.
I'm pretty sure when back at Jared's house when his wife goes, "Hey, honey, I'm going to get a couple pizzas. You want 1 or 2 billion?"
Yeah. Well, she's not in charge of buying it, so I get to control my outrageous
So 3
input
billion.
of pizza. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Well, you're full of creativity and ideas and whimsy, and I think we have to also mention your actual social output is you put a lot of, you can tell you care about it, and you think it's funny, which automatically means it's gonna. Hey, trust me, I know. It's like I don't need anybody. I can make myself laugh in my basement all day long. I don't need an audience. And you can tell when somebody's doing something and it's coming, from funny from the heart, not funny trying to collect people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's so many like TikTok videos going around where people like reuse. And I have nothing against that. I've even done a few myself, but I use that as a way to be like, I try to push out. I try to be like, let's come up with something original. And like, I want it to make me laugh. Like I'll literally be like sitting there just like cracking up thinking about these ideas. And I what's funny is I never think anybody's going to like them, but it turns out that other people like them. So,
see, it's the opposite for me. I think everybody's going to think it's funny and nobody does.
Well, you know what? I take it back. There have been a few times where I'm like, this video is going to kill. And it's like, no one likes it. Yeah. So I've definitely had a few of those for sure.
Awesome. Well, Tyler, thanks so much for sharing your story with us and with our audience.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
You're on the radar of an awful lot of people, and I'm just glad that we had the opportunity to talk with you. And please continue to let your creative mind unleash itself and make new awesome things.
Awesome. I definitely will, and I appreciate you having me on. You guys are fantastic.
Thank you. We are going to all jump in the El Camino and swing down to Jared's house.
That's right.
It's a 57, 58, 59, 66.
Exactly.
No doubt.
I got a special parking spot for the El Camino, and after you guys get out and stretch, we're going to play a little game of Would You Rather?
He got the Leslie on.
He's got a theremin. Yeah, I was gonna say,
nice,
yeah.
Leslie.
Leslie works. I was going to say theremin, but Leslie is better.
Yeah,
for sure.
All right,
and I think we talked about this guy once upon a time before named Mr. Bruce Bacon.
Bacon!
He never fails. He always sends us the right? Would you rather?
Yeah.
And here's another gem that he sent us, which is great. Your cousin has been a musician and a touring guitar tech for 10 years. You've always admired her spirit and tenacity. She is newly married and settling down. She is about to open up for her guitar repair business. You open the door of her shop and she says, "Man, I'm glad to see you because I've never installed a B-bender or Fernandez sustainer before. And I realize I need to get I need to get some experience with these two thingies. If you pay for the parts, right? If you pay for the parts, I will install it for free. You realize this involves some routing and drilling. So you decide it's going to be your number 2 guitar, not your number 1, your number 2. Would you rather have the B-bender or the Fernandez sustainer?" Tony Baloney, what's the Fernandez sustainer?
So what the Fernandez sustainer, and there's another similar item called the Sustainiac, but Fernandez incorporated it into a lot of their models. It's essentially the neck pickup they create a magnetic field which actually vibrates the strings. So it basically can create a almost infinite sustain. That's
like
the
an
name.
Ebo thing.
Yeah, it's like
Evo technology.
Yeah, except in the pickup.
as Nigel
Yeah,
would do.
it's mounted into the guitar, and the electronics for it are in the body.
Yeah. And so that actually, it's actually a pretty cool, I guess, effect. I mean, it does do some interesting things. And of course, the B bender is a rod that's connected up to the guitar strap, or the guitar peg that the strap is, and when you push down on the neck, it bends usually the B string.
I believe it's a fulcrum. Is that what it's called?
It would be like a double fulcrum.
Double fulcrum. Yeah. Okay.
And so it basically, normally it's on the B string, although they do make one for the G string as well. And
No.
it's to raise it, it's like a bend that.
That's called a wedgie.
Well, you would normally use your finger, but here you push down on the neck, and by doing that, the mechanism.
Pushing down, it goes up.
By pushing down, it goes up.
Yes.
So that's very popular among the Nashville cats.
Oh yeah.
That's a really old technology too. I mean, didn't that come out in like the early 60s?
Ooh, late 60s.
Late 60s? Okay.
Yeah. Is it Parsons? Gene Parsons and one of the guys from the Byrds, and they actually routed out the back of a Telecaster for this. And Marty Stewart has that very guitar. And it's really weird because it's like a Telecaster, except they added, I take that back. They didn't route out the back of the guitar. They built out the back of the guitar. So it's a Telecaster that's about 2.5 inches thick.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
It's like playing an acoustic electric.
Yeah, exactly. But if you ever get a chance to catch Marty Stewart, he's really good on that thing too.
Sure.
Yeah. But so those are your two choices. So you can have the Fernandez Sustainer or Sustainiac, or the B Bender.
Yeah.
Tony, what are you going to do?
That was originally for Clarence White, by the way.
Clarence White. But Gene Parsons also developed it, worked with him on that.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, please continue.
Okay. So Tony, what are you going to do?
Tony, what are you going to do?
Tony, let's turn it over to Tony. Tony, are you there?
Okay. All right.
Okay, he's here.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. I think. I mean, modern installation of a B bender is very intrusive in a guitar.
Yes.
I mean,
you have to sacrifice one for that.
Yeah. I
absolutely.
mean, you're almost better
Once
off.
a B bender, always a B bender.
Yes. You're almost better off buying a body that's already been routed for one of those, because it's a pretty difficult installation, and it's very easy to when you're drilling, a foot into a body.
Yeah. Aren't they kind of doing things more modern? I don't know who's making them. I kind of want to say like Waterslide is doing the ones with the little paddles on the end of the. I'm saying all the wrong words. So
you're saying all the wrong words, but no,
you know what I'm talking about.
Well, yeah, that's
down at the bridge.
Duesenberg makes a
1, 2, or 3 paddles.
Those have been around for a long time.
Yeah.
Too.
But this, I mean, the gimmick here is, like I said, when you push down on the neck, it does the bend up
on
for
the
you.
strap, yeah.
But it's very button. Intrusive in the body, and there's lots of metal parts going in there that need, to be oiled up and greased up and whatever. So otherwise, it starts sounding like the Tin Man in
like
Wizard
RoboCop.
of Oz. Reeves Gabrels from played with Bowie and a bunch of other places. He had a Reverend model that his signature model actually had a sustainer in the thing, and I remember hearing him talk about that is, once you use this, you're always going to use it.
Yeah.
And I've tried them before, and it is, like I said, it is kind of cool. And I guess in a live situation would be pretty cool. So I think,
and for his, he's been playing The Cure for the last 10 years, so it's like,
oh yeah, that's right.
That kind of music would lend itself a little bit more to that than a B-bender.
Definitely much more.
In your case, though, Bruce Bacon style. Bruce Bacon.
Yeah, pick
style.
one, Tony. There's an hour. Show.
What I think is interesting about the sustainer too is like you have this shift towards smaller amplifiers, and so people trying to like feedback their guitars by like sticking it in front of their amps is not as cool anymore.
Yeah, you're right.
You're trying to before you're like you're putting it in front of like a half stack or a full stack, and it's running away, and it's
someone holding it behind there.
Yeah, you're just like going up to like an Ampeg Jet or like a little Champ or something.
Yeah, and then it just squeals wildly.
So I think I think I'm going with the
You've
sustainer.
been thinking about this for the last 10 minutes of the show, so pick one.
Sustainer, man.
Can I think about it a little bit longer? No, I'm going with the sustainer, Todd.
All right.
That's what I'm going with. I think it's just cool. It's a neat effect, and I think it's less intrusive in the guitar.
Okay, sounds good. Jared.
I want intrusive. I think the sustainer is cool in some ways, but to me, it's just another effect that you can buy, that you can, somehow get a pedal to do that.
No, you can't do it.
Yeah,
anyway.
it's not exactly the same.
So it's an EBO thing where you have to have something up to the string thing.
That makes the strings vibrate.
It takes less of a pickup.
I used
you don't have to hold
before. I just nah. I'm gonna do the bender thing.
All right.
The bender thing is a little more traditional, and if you really practice hard enough, you'll get good at the bender and forget about how you butchered your guitar. So
okay, sounds good.
And to your point, it's like if you had to choose one, like the sustainer could be put essentially into any guitar. Like if you're gonna choose one, why not get the one that might be like it's a dedicated guitar. Right?
it is definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
I dig that. Okay, let's see, Tyler, go ahead.
I'm definitely on Team Sustainer just because of my playing style. Like it does not lend itself to a B bender at all. A Sustainer is much more in the vein of the type of music I enjoy playing, which is, punk rock.
Yeah.
So,
I'm switching right now. Originally, I was full court into the Sustainer, but I guess I like the historical factor of the B-bender and the fact that it's so low tech, but it's still complex. There's a machinist element to that I think would be really cool, and I would want a clear back.
Yeah, I was gonna say some of them have clear backs and they look so badass. Like
yeah, it's
absolutely.
just why not, right?
Yeah.
Look at the guts in my guitar.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Hey, speaking of guts.
No guts, no glory.
That's right.
Todd.
I do.
At this point of the show, there's a special group of people that have the guts to support this podcast.
That is true.
These are our executive producers. And you're wondering, How can I become an executive producer? Well, head over to patreon.com/the Guitar Knobs and check out a couple different levels in which you can participate, become a sponsor, a patron of this very podcast.
That is correct.
Each level comes with a really nice bevy of thank you gifts, shall I say?
Reward pack.
A reward pack.
Yes.
It's very nice.
And lots of awesome giveaways. We're giving away 2 clone pedals that have been altered to be even better clonerier and clonier.
There you go. That's easy for you to say.
Amongst several other things that are in the works.
And it's the right thing to do.
It is.
So, what was that?
Turkeys, apparently.
It is.
Singing, man.
Oh, he's
I'm thinking about,
he's got his sustainer.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about some stickers I'm going to send Todd to send out to our patrons.
Oh,
Oh,
I love
nice.
that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Go
Yeah.
ahead, Tony.
Anyhow,
It's pronounced solder.
that's
That's right.
That's a perfect sticker.
Sade.
Yeah, it's not it.
So, in addition to all that great stuff, and in addition to it being the right thing to do, there's one thing more. Jared, what is that?
Get to have your name read on the thing.
Your name read on the thing. That's what I'm going to do right now as quickly as possible as Todd is forcing me. Put that gun away, Todd.
I will.
You will not intimidate me with that tiny little weapon. So special thanks to these executive producers. Moon Guitars, Vader and Pedals, John Helverson, Rick Calhoun, Trevor Gunberg, Elad Mizrahi, Micah D, Richard Kendall, Mark Garton, Matt Hart, James White, Justin Jones, Anthony Gemalero, Bill Gola Guitars, John Esterly,
Yeah.
Anthony Lathrop, Stefan Lamb, Michael Senchuk, Ken Sayers, Doug Christ, Darren Gregory, Tom Barazin, Rusty Sneeden, Ralph Gottschalk, Don Kloss, Gregory Randall, Brett Hogarth, Eric Hemmer, Stuart George, Michael Furman, and Andrew DeHaan.
Oh, yes.
Oh, Todd, but there's more because there's a special level of executive producer. We call them our grand poobahs.
That's right.
These fine sponsors have a fez to place upon their head whilst listening to the podcast.
And at the same time.
And at the same time. So special thanks to these grand poobahs. Tommy Manasco, Ricardo Iguareda, David Kaminga, Brandon Wound Pickups.
That's right.
Hex Matos, Michio Murakishi, Bob Crouch, Jack Cadian, Sam Jett, Tyler Rhines, LSJ Music Company, John Williams, James Pennington, Adam Johnson, Steve Keys, Cody Foster, Science of Sound, Brian Robinson, Jonathan Jerusik, Corey Nigro, Michael Van Zant, Tim Nowak, Jonathan Daly, Martin Cliff, Sean S. Eddie Serratos, David Poe, and our new bestest buddy, Billy Spitfire.
That's right. Yeah.
Where is Billy?
Billy had a previous engagement and wasn't able to show up, but thank you for asking. I want to say...
My favorite name was that really jumped out to me was Cody Foster because it made me think that Jodie Foster's child probably. And his name is Cody.
Yeah. Cody's a great dude, and he's in a cool band, too. So
Yes, he is.
yeah, down here in Cincy. Hey, I want to say thank you to everyone also for your great response for the special order of hoodies that we're going to be doing for our supporters. And anyways, so I'm glad that everybody was like, yes, I like that.
Are those electric or acoustic hoodies?
They are hybrid, 12-string hybrid.
I'm in.
You can use those with an acoustic simulator pedal.
Yeah, anyways.
Right.
Okay, so, hey, speaking of more guts, Tyler, why don't you tell us where people can go and get some of these awesome things that you make?
All right. The best place for gear is going to be acornamps.com. And we have a gear link on there and you can check out all that stuff. There's usually links to demos and everything like that. So you can hear our stuff. Also, if you follow us on Instagram or Facebook There are links in our bios, and you typically get all of the demos we share on there, as well as, we do giveaways, we do promotions, and we are releasing a new pedal, and so we'll have some demos from Sean, Edge of Breakup, Ryan, Demos in the Dark, and then 2 new ones, one from Ambient Trash, and then hopefully Emily Hopkins. I don't know if you're familiar with the harpist, Emily Harpist, who is just absolutely incredible. We'll be doing some promotion with her in the future. So, yeah.
Nice.
Instagram, Facebook, acornamps.com.
Okay. And all of those who are going to be joining us in the future on Patreon, Tyler, you were kind enough to give us a pretty nice bag of swag, including very clever emergency picks. And also, you got you're doing the business card that's also a circuit board that you can make and populate yourself and make a pedal out of, which is really cool. And stickers.
You can actually make a guitar amp out of it. So it is a 1-watt guitar amplifier, depending on what chip you use. It could be anywhere from a 0.5 watt to a 1 watt.
That's killer.
That's pretty awesome.
Super dang cool. So those will be in the reward packs as well. Tony, how about yourself?
Just head over to pickguardian.com. Check out a couple of things that I do. I make pick guards, obviously. But check out, see if there's something there you like. But as I've always said, I do mostly custom work. So shoot me an email and let me know what you need, what you want, what you're trying to do. And I might be able to set you straight. Pickguardian.com.
All right. Jared?
Instagram, jared.allen.brandon. Throw me an Instagram message. Instagram.
Be my friend.
Right on.
That was amazing.
Yeah. You can shoot me an email, todd@theguitarknobs.com. You can DM me on Instagram @guitarknobs. We'd love to hear from you. If you're like, hey, this Bruce Bacon guy is taking up all the, hey, send us some.
Send us some, man.
We'll wiggle you right in front of Bruce on the next one, and maybe if you're lucky. So send us your thoughts and all the good feelings that you have our way. We need to say a colossal thank you to Tyler Petito from Acorn Amps. Thank you so much for joining us, man. It was great talking with you finally, and I'm excited for all the stuff you're doing, and just genuinely inspiring and energizing when we get to talk to somebody who like you, who's doing all of these great things and is focused on, I don't know, for lack of better terms, maybe a greater prize. You know what I mean?
I appreciate you guys. Thank you for saying that. And I hope I didn't ramble on too long, for sure.
No, it was perfect. Just the right amount.
You're a great guest, man. It worked out great.
Awesome. Thank you. You guys are hilarious and fantastic to talk to. You guys are something special for sure. Like I'm serious. I've talked to a lot of people in my day, and you guys are so much fun.
Well, I'm just old and slow.
Yeah. Everyone's got everyone's got their character, and you've got your character, and it's fantastic. Thank you guys. Appreciate you so much. This was a blast.
Great guest.
Thank you for your time, and hey everybody, have a fantastic guitar week and subscribe. I got it one piece at a time, and it just didn't cost me a dime.
There was so much interesting things that happened to me this week.
Yes, my inner voice is Cookie Monster.
Oh, yes. I hear dead people.
I'm just going to try to sort out a few show notes here, and then we'll get moving, okay?
Show notes, beautiful. Show notes.
So like Alpharetta or Roswell?
It was in
Lawrenceville, Johns Creek, Sandy Springs.
It was near Sandy Springs.
Barstow, San Bernardino.
If you ever plan to motor west. So more, so get down.
How you doing there, Broat Meal?
What are you talking?
Once upon a time, I drank a little wine, was as happy as could be.
I don't know how I'm going to edit that. You clipped the crap out of that.
I like to clip the crap out of that. Could you get me a water, please?
15 miles to the Love Shack.
Brandon.
Instagram.
Yeah, that Instagram plug was amazing.
Instagram.
It was like an old, like an ad being read by just like.
Say it 3 times. I'll never forget it.
Yeah.
Do you get a lot of visitors from squirrels?
That's terrible. Don't answer that. That's stupid. Shame on you. Shame. For shame. That was a good one.
Yeah,
that was a really good one. Well done.
Back in
My wife
form.
just
That's
told me I was
acceptable.
too loud.
I used to front a Johnny Cash tribute band. I was actually
Did
Mr.
you?
Cash. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It was pretty
Did you
fun.
sing in the? Did you sing in the Cookie Monster voice, or did you do?
I'd have paid to see
I
that.
got it one cookie at a time.
And away we go.
Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/theguitarknobs. Visit our website at theguitarknobs.com for all of our past episodes, 4 on the Floor blog, and other good stuff. You can connect with us on social too at our Facebook page and share your gear and stories on our Facebook group. Also, be sure to check out our Instagram at Guitar Knobs. Catch you next time.